We'll call the meeting to order, and please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. I'd like to call the December 17th West Melbourne City Council meeting to order. Welcome everyone to tonight's meeting of the City Council. Members of the public are welcome to speak on any topic, whether it is on tonight's agenda or on any issue that is important to you. Each person that wishes to speak should complete a speaker card, which are over there on the table by the glass doors, and submit them ahead of time to the city clerk, which they go in that brown box right there. After you've been recognized to speak, please use the microphone at the podium and clearly state your name and address for the record. Please address all your comments to the City Council rather than individual members. Direct all questions to the chair. Speakers will be given up to 3 minutes to speak. Thank you very much. Our first item is going to be an introduction of new employees.
Hello, I'm Christy Fisher, Planning Director. I'd like to introduce our new Administrative Assistant, Chris Foote. She started with us on Veterans Day, and she's got quite a bit of history here in Brevard County, which bodes well for us. She told me that she's been here since she was 6 years old, which is certainly longer than a lot of us have been in Brevard County. And we look forward to having her on board for a while. So I'll let her tell you all a little bit about herself, and we'll take the photos. Thank you.
Yep, my family and I moved here to Brevard County in 1974. So we've long-time residents and been in Brevard County the whole time. I grew up in Satellite Beach, and my husband and I live in Palm Bay right now, and I've got about over 20 years of administrative experience. I've always worked for or with the public, and I enjoy that. I'm a people person, and I really enjoy helping people. And I'd just like to say thank you for this opportunity to work for the City of West Melbourne, and I hope to see you again.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. All right, so now some time for some fun. I'm going to wait for Megan to get back up here. We're going to announce the holiday winner for the Light Up West Melbourne. Going to draw it out just a little bit longer. It is truly an honor that we are here to celebrate the creativity, festive cheer, and holiday spirit that makes West Melbourne such a wonderful place to call home. This year's Holiday Light Contest, I have to learn to do this. This year's Holiday Light Contest brought the best of our community, and I want to thank everyone who participated, whether you decorated, voted, or simply took the time to enjoy the lights. The displays this year were truly incredible, showcasing creativity, hard work, and a whole lot of holiday magic. It's clear that the spirit of the season shines brightly in our city. Now I'm thrilled to announce this year's winner. Please join me in congratulating Marilyn and Dwayne Mertz, our holiday winner. Yay! And we have a finalist who also gets the sign, which is Guy Dacchio. Welcome, Guy. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you to Marilyn and and Dwayne Guy, and all the participants for making this season so special and bright. Your displays brought smiles and joys to the families across West Melbourne, and we couldn't be more proud of the festive spirit that you've shared with all of us. Even though the contest has ended, I encourage everyone to continue exploring the beautiful displays throughout our community. The map and the list of homes still available, so take a drive, enjoy the lights, and soak in the magic of the season. Just go to our website, westmelbourne.gov, and go to the holiday, light up West Melbourne, and you'll find it. Congratulations again to our winners, and thank you to everyone who made this possible. Thank you. We have to get better chairs. I didn't hear you. Where is he? Oh, there he is. All right, so I have one more item for that, but I also wanted to introduce Thad Altman. Thad Altman is our District 5 County Commissioner, and he is new on the commission, and he is new at our meeting, and he came to our CRA meeting tonight, and we are very, very happy to have him, so welcome, Thad. So, thank you. So in keeping with the holiday lights, this is better late than never because this is really fun, and I should have done it when I was down there. So here's a little fun fact. Future goals for our West Melbourne winners. The Guinness World Record for the most Christmas lights on a residential property has been held by the Gay family of Unionville, New York since 2014 with over 720,000 lights. That adds up to 40 miles of lights, and they used 8 miles of extension cords. So I know, I don't want to pay their electric bill. I don't want to pay their electric bill at all.
See it from here.
Yes, I think I've just watched that movie. All right, so here we are. There are no modifications to the agenda. Public hearing. Christy, the rezoning of the parcel located at the northeast and southeast corners of Hollywood and Eber Boulevard.
This was an agenda item that was postponed from the summer to this date certain of city council meeting. And what I ended up talking to the developer, actually it's the property owner who's trying to get the rezoning, is that after we postpone one time, then we typically have the applicant withdraw, or we withdraw, and that's what we've done in this case. And when they're ready for a date certain, then we ask them to, resubmit. It's not that they pay the fees over again, but we sort of start the clock back again. So there's no action that needs to happen. The reason this is under public hearing, like I said, is that it was advertised to date certain, and I have to sort of make this pitch just in case somebody is either listening to the audio or, seeing us live, or has decided they want to come in person. So this may appear before you all in February. It's definitely going to City Council, to the Planning and Zoning Board, January 15th.
Thank you, Christy. So there's no action needed on this. We just simply move on to the next item, which is a public forum. Persons wishing to speak must fill out a request to speak form and hand it to the city clerk. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes each person. Public forum will be limited to 30 minutes. Do we have any speaker cards? All right, so we'll move on to the next item, which is the consent agenda. May I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda? Motion, I'm sorry, Mr. Frampus?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make a motion. We accept the consent agenda as written.
Thank you, Mr. Frampus. Ms. Adams?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Frampus motion and second by Ms. Adams. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you. Motion carries. Next item is the action agenda, the Parks Master Plan.
Honorable Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council. I'm very excited that we're coming to the end of the master planning process, and here is GAI to present their final findings.
Thanks, Erin. Good evening, everyone. So excited to be here. It's been a year that we started this process. Actually, we were just, the project website, playwestmelb.com, was opened on December 22nd. So we are right at a year. Let me grab the clicker real quick. My name's Kristen Caborn. I'm the Director of Park Planning at GAI Consultants. I have Andrea Penuela with me, and then Bill Huffman from Infrastructure Solution Services, ISS, our sub-consultant, is with us this evening. We are here to take you through just very briefly where we've been, especially welcome to the two new council members. I know that y'all have heard us present this in the past, so are pretty much know what's going on. I'm going to be talking about the phasing plan tonight. You all have a copy of the final master plan, and it's done and ready to be implemented. We're really looking forward to this exciting step for you all. So as you know, the purpose of the master plan was to create a plan that's responsive to the needs of your community. We spent some time talking to the public. We had the online survey to begin to understand that. We also did the inventory in GIS. So we leave you all with a GIS database with an inventory of your park system and all of the infrastructure. Create a blueprint for the future of the Parks and Recreation system. And this is really where the phasing plan that we're going to talk about tonight comes into play. It provides a logical way to implement, as budgets allow, short, mid, and long-term priorities, and then improve ultimately with the goal of improving life in West Melbourne. So the master plan process, again, was 3 steps. This is nothing new. The analysis of facilities and the public engagement was the understanding. So we got to understand the community, hear their wants and needs. Part 2 was the visioning, starting to create that vision. You all heard us talk about guiding principles throughout the project, and each of the recommendations of the plan falls underneath one of the guiding principles. And then finally, implementation. We talked about the site plans at the last meeting. We've been working with ISS to put together the CIP budgeting, which is a spreadsheet that is actually dynamic, and the city staff can use that after we're gone. So can move things between the different terms, short, mid, and long, and also update pricing as you know, the plan goes forward into the future years. And then an implementation strategy that takes, again, the short, mid, and long-term goals in manageable chunks to implement and not all at once. So when we did the inventory, we do that using iPads, and we do a, what results of that is a park score. And the park score is very simple. When we inventory infrastructure, we do everything on a 1, 2, or 3 basis. A 3 is something exceeds expectations. It's generally new. We don't expect to see a lot of 3s. Some of the 3s in your park system would have been at the community park. A 2 simply means it meets users' expectations. It's safe, there's good access to it, and if somebody is going to a park, it's what they would reasonably expect to have for a playground, a ball field, a pavilion, that type of thing. And then a 1 means it's getting towards the end of its useful life. It's probably needing to be replaced sooner than later. So we aggregate all of that along with a score that we call design and ambiance, which is the softer side of the evaluation. It's a little more subjective. Our landscape architects and engineers take a look at the site from their perspective and how the design and ambiance is functioning in that park for the user experience. All of that gives us scores. So you can see at the top, and I'm going to go through these one at a time as we get to the parks, but this is important because this is how we put together the implementation plan with short, mid, and long. So along the top score is your aggregate park score, and that the top row there, and that takes into consideration everything that I just talked about for each of the parks. So looking at short term, this is basically now this current fiscal year and for the next 2 years. So Tallwood Park, this park score is a 1.55. It's one of the lower ones. So this is a short-term priority. You can see that it does need a master plan with some design and engineering to implement the improvements that were part of the site plan. And there was one, I may as well call out in the report, if any of you all caught this, that there was, Tallwood Park was called a special use park. That's old comprehensive plan language. That's been removed from the report now because the comprehensive plan is being updated. Tallwood Park essentially functions as a neighborhood park. So for the purposes of the Parks and Rec master plan and then your comprehensive plan going forward, that you can ignore that special use designation because it doesn't matter. Also short-term, Clements Wood Parks, looking at improving the park that we had talked about as part of the site plan, additional parking, the walking loop, some signage to designate it as a public park, bike rack, playground fencing, landscape buffer to adjacent residents, and then adding lighting. Park score on this one is 1.72, which means it's falling just a little bit below the 2.0, which is the goal, which means that the park is overall is meeting its intended purpose. Also, Hammock Lakes, looking at implementing the park improvements, which included the widening the entry sidewalk, signage that we've talked about system-wide, adding shade to the playground to help increase its functionality when we're dealing with the Florida heat, a new basketball court, restoring the existing volleyball court, adding some canopy and ornamental trees, and then, of course, lighting. So other projects that pop up into the short term, these aren't associated with existing parks. The first one would be New Neighborhood Park, and I will mention that you'll see some of these projects spread out across short, mid, and long term, and that's so we're not trying to do too much and bite off too much on one site, all in various terms. So New Neighborhood Park, in the short term, looking for the land. Are you going to try and work with the developer to find that land? Is the city going to acquire the land by just purchasing it directly? And then once the land is secured and is in the city, part of the city park system, then moving forward with a master plan and engineering for that. So we've talked previously with you all about what the park standards would be. So the design of this new park that doesn't exist yet would include, to meet your equity standards, a playground, an athletic court or field. Again, we don't care if it's a basketball court, if it's a softball field with a backstop. That's something to talk to the neighborhood about and the residents about when you do acquire that land. Including walking loop with seating. We heard a lot through the public input process that people want to have safe places to walk. Pavilions, lighting, and then open space. And we talk about all throughout the report about the importance of open space so people have areas for free play as part of your parks. So that would, you can see that building the new neighborhood park is not part of the short term because you've got to acquire the land, you've got to go through, once you've acquired it, the design and talking to the neighborhood about what they would like to have at the land, the land in their new park. And then the other project with short term is the Recreation Center feasibility study. And we've talked about that quite a bit. Short term, we're not talking about beginning the design or engineering or the architecture of the recreation master plan. It's going through the process of understanding what the implications are of a new recreation center here in West Melbourne. Where's it going to be? How much is it going to cost to build? What's the square footage going to look like? Is it going to be 1-story, 2-story? And then, of course, the most important question, once you've built it, how are you going to operate it? So part of the feasibility study is looking at the revenue, the operating expenses, your philosophy for setting fees and charges. So you all have that information as you're going through the process and making decisions on how big it should be and how you're going to staff it. Any questions on the short term? So looking at midterm, we're looking at 3 to 5 years from right now. The importance of midterm is at 5 years, we recommend that you do an interim update to your Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So at year 5, it's not a full redo of the process. It's another public input just to see how we're doing and if the goals that were established as part of this plan are still relevant. And also, to celebrate the accomplishments that you've made so far. So looking at what have you accomplished from short and midterm, if you didn't get to it, is it still a priority? So you can test that with the public, you can test that amongst yourself and with staff to decide if it's still a priority. And then you have your long-term goals that are part of this plan that you can see, are these still projects that are valuable to the public, valuable to the city? And if so, in theory, those long-term projects would then shift to short and midterm at the 5-year update. So your current midterm projects, these existing parks have a little bit of a higher park score, which means that they're functioning at a little bit of a higher level right now for the residents and for the sites. So this site right here, coupled with Jan Leeson over there, doing the master plan, the design and engineering. Of course, the reason why that's midterm is because city council chambers are going to have moved before you do anything on this particular site. So looking at this site with the walking loop, signage, having a fenced edge to buffer you all a little bit better from Minton Road, adding the ornamental trees and lighting, and then, of course, the note at the bottom about the relocation of the council chambers. Westbrook Park, this park is functioning a little bit above the 2.0, which is kind of our goal for meeting its intended purpose. So looking at improving, implementing the improvements that were recommended as part of the master plan for this site, including the walking loop, signage, a fenced edge, again, to buffer from the adjacent road, some ornamental trees and lighting. And then again, other projects that aren't associated with a current park right now, the new neighborhood park implementation. So you've done the master plan, you've done the design, so now you're gonna actually move forward to construction of that new park in the midterm. And then for the recreation center, moving into the actual design and engineering of what you all decide to build as part of the feasibility project. So we're taking the recreation center in chunks. It's quite a large project. Certainly, if the city felt ready, this could move forward, or backwards, I should say, into a short-term priority after you finish your recreation feasibility study. But we really wanted to take a shot at having costs spread out and also not overwhelm staff or you all as elected officials as you're trying to implement this plan.
I have a question.
Sure.
For the new park you were talking about, so we'll back up just a little bit. You're not suggesting anything more west and central, just the one area there?
That's just a targeted area. It could be anywhere in that area.
But you're only suggesting one?
Yes.
Two?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So at 5 years, that's the master plan update. That would be your long-term ones. Again, you're reviewing your completed and outstanding projects. But this is what's left that is long-term. We have Jan Leeson and Brian Adams. Again, this is actually construction on this site, because we figure by the time council chamber moves, you get through design and engineering, you're probably at about 5 years. So construction on this site, and then construction of the recreation center. And that's the phasing plan and the implementation plan. We're here for questions.
Any questions before we get a motion here? Ms. Volz?
Did have,
Ms. Volz?
oh,
Yeah, we have not, or you all have not identified any parcels available up in the north part of the city, because there's nothing up there right now. But you have not looked to see if there was anything up there at all that could potentially be a park?
We leave that to the city to identify the parcel. If we identify a parcel and make it public that that's a parcel that you should target, then it becomes problematic. We don't want people to think that, oh, the city's going to buy my land. It's, you know, we're going to try and sell it for more than it's worth. So that does become a direction to the city staff to go look for vacant land that would meet the standard for acreage and all of that.
Okay.
Or work with a developer. You might have a developer come forward and say, City of West Melbourne, we love you so much.
Yes, we want to give you the land.
But I caution you to make a concerted decision, and that's part of the reason for having the park equity standards, because if a developer doesn't want to develop the land and seems eager to donate it to the city, it has to be the consideration, is that land actually usable for a neighborhood park? And can you get the infrastructure that we have listed that needs to be in the new neighborhood park in the land? Is it buried in the back of the development with no access? Is it primarily wet? There certainly is a value to the city conserving wetlands. And having wetlands on the same site with a neighborhood park is wonderful because you get the access to nature. But you still need enough high and dry acreage to develop and implement the neighborhood park amenities. Thank you. You're welcome.
Mr. Bentley?
Thank you. You rated on comfort the West Melbourne Community Park a 1, and I was just kind of wondering how it dropped so low. Because they do have restrooms there. They don't have a lot of shade trees. But I didn't understand the 1, to be honest.
It would not be an aggregate 1. It would, we'd have to, the city staff has the GIS dashboard where it might have just been, can you tell me which one it was?
Comfort 1 on the far right, second
Yeah, so
white column down.
that would be based on the lack of shade, tree canopy, and that's something that we heard from public engagement as well.
So even though it has the shaded area under a roof, and
Right.
it has restrooms, which all parks don't, I just thought 1 was kind of unfair, but
Well, your
big deal,
aggregate
but-
score, it's your highest ranked park, and your
Right.
aggregate score is
Right, that's-
is really high for that. So, yeah, that,
that's okay. I was just curious as
Yeah.
to what in your mind made it a 1, because I just thought, wow, that's kind of the nicest one we've got.
It is the nicest one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bentley. Ms. Volz, do you still have a question? No? All right, so we have a motion to receive the final Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Ms. Adams?
Thank you, Mayor. I'll make a motion to receive the Parks Master Plan report. Thank you so much. I know you guys took a lot of time and you've gotten feedback from us, so I think we all appreciate that.
thank you for the opportunity.
Mr. Gaylord?
I'd like to second that motion.
All right, thank you very much. We have a motion from Ms. Adams and a second from Mr. Gaylord to receive the final Parks and Recreation Master Plan from GIA Consultants. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. And those opposed? Thank you. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you all very much for the opportunity, and happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Mark Petroni. He's going to talk to us about the selection of the Westbrook Flood Risk Reduction Contract.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, council members. Yeah, the agenda item we're here to talk about is the Westbrook Flood Reduction Project. Give you a little history. For those that don't know, Westbrook was started back in the 90s. Started off with one subdivision, and over time, the city has grown. A lot of residential and commercial projects started. Regulations and guidelines through different agencies also changed. And Westbrook is what it is now, almost 557 homes. Back in the fiscal year of 22-23, we reached out and started looking for funding. And with the assistance of our state and local representatives at the time were Randy Fine and Debbie Mayfield, we secured $460,000 for stormwater work. And we also did a stormwater in 2012. We did a stormwater assessment that identified some areas that would assist or help out the Westbrook subdivision. So based on that, we went to council. Council authorized and approved a task order for Infrastructure Solution Services to go out and start evaluating the storm assessment that was done in 2012 and see what can be done and assess the areas in the Westbrook subdivision and some of the surrounding canals. While all that was going on, we were still seeking out funding, and we, again, with some local assistance, a gentleman that was already announced by the mayor is here, Mr. Thad Altman, along with Debbie Mayfield, assisted, and we also received additional grant funding of $460,000 for the stormwater and risk reduction for Westbrook. As all this was going on, ISS was going out and surveying all the ponds, different canals, C69, C70, and it was determined that we had some problem culverts downstream that ended up being a lot higher, which as stormwater rose during some serious rain events, it was creating pretty much a damming effect or a bathtub effect where the water was basically ponding and heading back towards Westbrook and not allowing Westbrook to flow, therefore causing some flooding. So based on all that, the ISS came up with some proposals. The most immediate and seems to be the most effective one was a bypass to go around the problem culverts. Similar to heart surgery, they go around a blockage. And based on that, based on all that information, we decided to have a public meeting. We invited all the Westbrook residents that occurred, showed them the project, showed them the idea, the concept, and everybody seemed very supportive of it. No objections, so from there, we authorized ISS to do a full design on this, bid documents, and I was able to put it out last month. We had our bid openings last week on the 10th, received 2 bids. You can see they're a little different. Numbers, we asked ISS to evaluate the contractors, do check references, and based on their data and information, they did submit a certification or authorization letter, which is attached to this as well. From a fiscal standpoint, there isn't really negative fiscal effects to the city. There's $1,260,000 appropriated or allocated for the Westbrook project. That is made up by the 2 grants I just discussed. We also have some stormwater money in there. There's a little bit of a shortfall that is being made up by the Stormwater Utility Fund Reserve. And we just completed the Melbourne Estates project, and the Department of Commerce awarded the city additional funding through the CBDG grant funding there, a little over $900,000. So there's additional monies that we can allocate towards other really good projects such as this. So based on all that good stuff, I'm here to authorize and recommend that you authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Amcon Development Group LLC in amount not to exceed $1,508,104.56. And of that, I'll add, we do have a 5% contingency included in that, which is approximately $75,000. So the actual total's right around 1.44 and change. So with that, I'll try and answer all the questions best of my ability.
Tony, Mr. Frampus.
Thank you, Mark. What's the time frame for this once authorized?
We have 290 days, I believe, was what the bid was for the project to get done. If you approve tonight, I'll probably send out awards tomorrow, and then I don't think we'll be doing NTP till next month.
Less than a year. That seems kind of aggressive. Do you
6 months.
think it can be completed that quickly?
Yeah, it's you're digging. I mean, we're open trenching. Some of the piping, we're going around 340.
You know what you find sometimes when you dig, right?
Well, there's been some geo work that ISS did. There's just from what I've seen on the plans, it looks like there's there's a water line, but
Hopefully we don't find any gas lines that aren't supposed to be there.
well, you never know. Like we're going to be directional drilling under the 3 private roads, so they'll have to do their research on that too. But I'm hoping if we don't hit any snags, we should be able to get it done fairly quick. It's a good time of year to do it.
I make a motion, we approve and authorize the city manager to execute this contract as written.
Thank you, Mr. Frampus. Ms. Volz.
I am going to second that, but I will say that I was the first president of Westbrook HOA, and when I asked the developers about the drainage, they smiled at me and said, "Good luck, it's yours." And now I'm seeing why they said it, so.
22 years later.
Yes.
Ms. Adams.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know if you want to take well, no, I had a quick question for you. In regards to the timeline, I know if we're shooting for around 290 days as we're going to be putting out there, are we expecting any issues with next year's, not that I want to say it out loud, but next year's hurricane season? Do we have a plan if we are in the middle of work? I don't know. I just think thinking ahead, how that might affect the neighborhood.
We got a lot of projects going on right now. They're going to end up going into hurricane season now.
I know, I'm saying it softly.
Yeah,
Saying it
Yeah,
softly.
I don't know. We had busy one, you know, Brevard came out pretty good from the last ones. The West Coast didn't. I mean, who knows what Mother Nature's going to hand to us, but we try and cross every bridge as we come, you know, that's all I can tell you on that.
You know, the one thing we would say is this bypass project does not impact the existing canal at all. It's only going to improve it by, via gravity, getting rid of the bathtub. And so, you know, it would be, in a perfect world, we'd get done before we get the next big storm. But if a storm, you know, this storm continues for the next 2 days, or we were to get into hurricane season, it would not improve it because the project's not done, but it also would not have any negative impact. The canal, the project in the canal is not affecting the canal at all.
Great, I just wanted to check on that. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. We have a motion on the floor from Mr. Frampus. We have a second from Ms. Volz to approve and authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Amcon Development Group LLC in an amount not to exceed $1,508,104.56. All those in favor of approving this, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Petroni. All right, move on to council reports. Mr. Bentley. Deputy Mayor Bentley, sorry.
I think I'm set. Thank you. No report.
All right, thank you. Mr. Gaylord, Councilmember.
No report.
Councilmember McGuire.
Just wanted to say happy holidays, happy new year, but other than that, no report.
Councilmember Frampus.
Question for the city manager. The traffic light that was supposed to start this year at Norfolk and Shallow Creek, what's the update?
We would have liked to get that out. Our original, well, our secondary plan was to get that bid in November. We continue to struggle with our old engineering firm that we do not work with anymore to get a final set of biddable project plans that are able to be bid. I'll say that. I'll use better English. My apologies. And we have been stuck at a 98% set of plans for about 60 days now, and are just going to have to move forward with that 98% plans. And so we have a big bid opening Thursday, and then we're going out to bid for our water conveyance lines the first couple of weeks of January, and so we should be able to get out to bid the first couple of weeks of January.
Thank you. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to everybody. Enjoy your holidays. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frampus. Councilmember Adams.
Thank you, Mayor. I would say highlights from the past 2 weeks include the Florida League of Cities had their legislative policy conference. Now that the league has drafted their statewide stance on a bunch of different policies that they will be advocating for and some that they will be advocating against based on bills that will be coming forward. I'll send up a draft just to the rest of council to keep everybody informed. If you have a strong, feeling on one and you want to be involved in that piece of advocacy, there's great ways to be doing that. They really are pushing this year the Key Contact Program, so just something to keep in mind. They're going to continue growing that for those that have relationships with our legislators. I know especially in our area we have some new ones, so just wanted to remind people about that, but that draft email I will hopefully send to you in the next few days, so just a heads up on that. I thought the West Melbourne tree lighting went very well, so thank you to staff, Mayor, very well run. It's always good to see our community come out for that event. Just also wanted to let people know that we have the Space Coast TPO is offering, they used to call it the Mayor's Fitness Challenge. Now they have rebranded it to the Space Coast Wellness Challenge. Exciting things. So that is open for people across our community to be involved, really work on your own, wellness goals, and that's individual for each person. The dates for that are open January 25th through March 7th, but registration actually opened up today. So if you want to register, that information and more about the program can be found at spacecoastwellnesschallenge.com. So just wanted to share that information with everybody. And then my last note was just a question for Mr. Rohde that if you'd like to answer during your section of the updates, that's fine. But now that we've received the Parks Master Plan and everybody's on the same page moving forward, I'd love an update on what kind of the next steps are and what we're thinking with that, especially if that's something we're going to be adding to the workshop in January or something that's going to be discussed at a later time. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Adams. Councilmember Volz. No report? Oh, he was ready to speak, all right. I thought he was going to wait till management reports, but all right.
Oh,
I thought you were going to speak.
oh, nope, go, I'll
Okay.
wait till I'll wait my turn.
I'm next, no report, management reports.
So before I answer Councilwoman Adams' question, I just have to back up and take an opportunity to again kind of articulate while the stormwater project we just approved came in just slightly over the grant amount we did. Through tremendous effort of Tom Bradford and Candace Blake and Mark Petroni, we're able to get an extra $900,000 out of our CDBG grant, which was money that the city had budgeted to use for the Melbourne Estates flood risk reduction project. And so when we got that additional $900,000, that put the $900,000 back into the stormwater account, which then made this project very viable because we had that cash reserve. So, but all of those efforts started with, at the time, Deputy Mayor Adams and Councilmember Bantley starting those initial grants with our wonderful Brevard County legislative group, and then on the second year, big thanks to Mr. Altman for championing the second round of grants in addition to the rest of the delegation. And so those relationships pay off, and the result of that is being able to do these projects with other people's money, which is the best way to do projects. So I just wanted to, we touched on it, but I just wanted to take an opportunity to really appreciate that we are taking every opportunity when we meet with these, state and federal agencies to continue to ask for dollars and tell our story of why our project is more important than others, and continue to be successful getting those dollars. So I just wanted to take that opportunity to do that. As far as the Parks Master Plan, this is a great report for us and a great document that we can use into the future. What we'd like to do is during the council retreat, spend some time talking about priorities, because as mentioned, there's a couple of ways to approach this plan, much like how we approach roads and maintenance of roads, right? You can maintain your best roads in order to keep them in great shape for the longest time, or you can maintain your least maintained roads in order to bring them up to a minimum standard. And that's the approach that they recommended, was to tackle the parks that were low, which is a great option to consider. Another option to consider would be to just focus on one park at a time. But what we would like to do during the retreat is kind of have that discussion from a higher, 50,000 foot level perspective, so that we can, as we go into budget season, determine designation of dollar amounts. Because again, all these items are great, and this council, or the previous council, and I won't speak for the current council, but the reason we did the Parks Master Plan was trying to get our parks to the next level, trying to bring them up to the community park standard that we've established. And so how we approach that in a time span that's reasonable, that we can get them all there, but not break the bank, is really what we'd like to talk with the council, and just get the council's feedback on which direction that they prefer. And so we're happy to put the budget dollars together, and happy to designate them in whichever direction we want to go. But ultimately, it's, council needs to give that direction as far as how we cook the Thanksgiving turkey, so to speak, as opposed to other options. And so we're happy to do that, and I think the retreat would be just an amazing opportunity to have everybody together and be able to speak freely.
All right, thank you. Ms. Adams.
Sorry, I just had one other question. When did we bring on the lobbyist for the city? When did we bring on that contract?
I would have to double check, but it's probably we've probably had our lobbyist, I want to say maybe 14 months. Does that sound right?
I thought we were over the year mark, which is why I was
I'm
asking.
guessing about 14 months, but I would have to double check for an exact date.
Okay. Are we expecting, have we heard any updates in regards to monies from the lobbying company or the lobbyist in terms of money specifically meant for the water plant? That was the big reason of why we brought them on.
Yeah, we are working on a $5 million federal appropriation for the water plant.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? And any other management reports? Mr. Carey, nothing? No? All right, thank you. Quarter to 7, 3 minutes to 7. Any other comments? Anything for the good of the order? We can adjourn.
Happy holidays.
Thank you very much. Thank you.